Hello and Ashe. Recently, someone asked me to basically do the basics of witchcraft on my channel because they liked my channel very much. And, and I don't know why, by the way, this is a YouTube problem. Sometimes I get on my email, like someone, a notification that somebody wrote a comment on my YouTube channel, and then I get to the YouTube channel and I don't see the comment. I don't know why. Maybe it was like automatically deleted. Maybe YouTube is giving me problems. Maybe my browsers is incorrect. But she wrote, this was one of those comments that woman wrote, and I read it and I thought, okay, how do I respond to this? And my conclusion is this video, part of it at least. I cannot teach you witchcraft through YouTube. Everything that is on YouTube, if you watched all the videos of YouTube and if you read all the books out there, you get about 40% of witchcraft. The other 60% are from live teachers and experience. And I can answer concise questions and talk about things that I'm thinking that are missing in like modern practice, by reading books by modern practice, but I can't and I won't do a course about witchcraft on YouTube. It's simply not my thing. I don't believe in this. More than I don't believe in this. Look, I believe in tutoring people in witchcraft on like a one student at a time base. Why? Because I think every person's needs are different. I think there is quite a bit of unlearning before you go to witchcraft. I think it's a very personal journey. And while I did a course about therapeutic witchcraft back then, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, it didn't have the results I wanted specifically. It's like, I think it was too early for the Israeli community here. I think I might need to do a beginner's course, but even that, I don't believe in courses. I don't believe in be a witch in a weekend. I don't even believe in be a witch in a year and a day. Okay, it's a lifetime of studying. It's a huge sacrificial part of what you do and what you give, and I don't think this is something you can do through YouTube. I'm sorry, but I could discuss subjects that I think that are missing. So today, my dear YouTubers, by the way, how are you? Tell me how you are and tell me if you found this video interesting. Oh, and another thing, I don't chat in front of the camera. I walk, I study, I'm doing my 3rd degree now, I'm learning how to be an academic librarian, and I'm learning how to cataloging and stuff that requires a lot of attention. I will not be one of those people that would sit in front of the camera spilling their guts. When I'm making a video about witchcraft, it's about witchcraft. And when I'm making a video about, which is a vlog, which are very rare in my channel, it would be a vlog and it would be short, because talking about my life as an Israeli witch is important. And but I'm not going to do, it's not going to be like a 50 minutes video. Okay, I try to stay on topic. And some people would like it and some people won't like it so much, but this is my style, this is what I do. But I love you all. I love all of you that comment. I like all of you that do dislikes on my channel. I love you too. Thank you for challenging my so-called authority. I don't necessarily think that everybody should agree with me. I don't create my own little replicas. The world would be very boring for me if I would. But today I've brought you something that I find interesting and seriously lacking in the books. frankincense and myrrh. Now, I can tell you that I believe there is no witchcraft without herbs. And I'm planning to do a different video about herbs and why we use herbs so much. But, you know, when you opened up Scott Cunningham's Incense, Oils and Brews, which is like a canonic text that even I, you know, whenever somebody tells me, okay, go and make a Mabon incense, it's almost like a criticism to go and make it out of a Scott Cunningham book, because, you know, it's old-fashioned, it's cliched, and since I'm Voodoo-nsi and those are not necessarily my traditions, I would go like, you know, it's not even Wiccan, it's Wiccanese, Wiccan style, you know, so I would go and make that Sabbath incense and everybody would love it and I would be, okay, as long as you like it, here, take it, enjoy it. But I found there is very little discussion about two of the most basic ingredients in witchcraft and in incense making, which is frankincense. And this is the brand of frankincense. This is not the great brand of frankincense, okay? Here, let me see it. This is how it looks like, okay? There are other kinds and other colors of frankincense, including black and green, but I'll talk about this later. And myrrh. Looks wonderful, doesn't it? Now, those are not all of my myrrh and frankincense. Those are my reserve emergency myrrh and frankincense, which I need to fill up because I see that they are getting empty. I usually have like little bags of myrrh and frankincense that I use to make specific incense. And the thing is this, they don't smell so great. The frankincense smells like hello amber honey raving cat pee most of the time, unless you get like premium types which are expensive or people are finding very difficult to get them unless you're in an Ethiopian market. And the myrrh smells like pepper gas. It doesn't smell nice. It's not something that we would think of today as using as perfume. So why the hell are we using those? Why are those such a prominent thing in our practice? Why, when there was shortage in the USA, people would use them very mediocrely, you know, they would break a little piece and use it at a time to burn on their censer? Why are those being used in churches? Why are those being used by, you know, mosques? Weirdly enough, the only one of the three monotheistic religions that don't use it so much is the Jewish religion. Why? Well, that is because the Jewish religion moved from practicing to the spoken word ever since the temple got destroyed. We don't animal sacrifice anymore. We don't purify ourselves with the ashes of the sacrificed animals anymore. And we don't light incense because, you know, we have like cautionary tales against making the temple's incense, Ktoret Hastamim, and burning it without the permission of God, with people getting basically cursed and condemned by God because they used it. So here I am sitting in front of you. I'm wearing my Osanin Eleke, Orisha of plants, and I'm talking about those things. And in order to get those things, one needs to get the historical context. Okay? Now, we live in a time where we have antibiotics, but there used to be a time where if you break a nail, you could die from breaking a nail. And the only antiseptics that were out there were basically those ingredients, especially in the Middle East, especially in Africa. If you had a wound that contaminated your body, that wound would become gangrenous and you could have blood poisoning and die. You could die from a mosquito bite. You could die from inflamed tooth. You could die from anything. And those would be one of the only cures, if not the only cure, for such things. Okay? The problem was that they were very, very expensive. Extremely expensive. inordinarily expensive, up to the point that you would like sell those against gold. It would be like this amount of gold for this amount of frankincense. Okay, that's the same weight. So it became something that the rich had access to and the poor people didn't, because the poor people couldn't scrounge enough property to get enough gold to get it. So while the rich people could live and use those things for other things besides medicine, like using that for cosmetics. If you read, the scroll, the story of Purim and the scroll of Esther, she bathed in the myrrh oil for 3 months. Okay, that's that lavish amount of wealth that allow her to bathe in myrrh oil for 3 months is like, you could feed 10 families or more for that amount of myrrh just going down the gutter because she needed to be pretty. Okay? Not to mention that cosmetics is considered to be witchcraft in some places until today. I mean, there was a case about a Nigerian guy that got scared and thought he had an intruder in his home because after the wedding he saw his wife for the first time not wearing makeup, and he said, "This is not my wife, this is someone else." Okay, he didn't recognize her and he sued her. And in ancient Greece, you could sue your wife for putting makeup on because this would be like creating an illusion, enchantment of beauty that might not be realistic later on. It's like, please do not underestimate the power of makeup. So, the ability to burn incense, to burn those life-saving things to the gods, was something that the rich, powerful, and royalty could afford. And as an example, there is a list of what offerings did Ramses III gave to Hathor, and it had like sheep, it had like cattle, it had like, flowers, poultry, all sorts of things, and 2 cones of frankincense and myrrh. And you would think like, okay, today we get like, for a couple of bucks, like this incense cones, and we burn them, and it's like, this is what he gave to Hathor, goddess of plenitude. And I said, yes, because those things would be worth their weight in gold, quite literally. Okay. Now, the thing is this, and it's also interesting. You can't have myrrh and frankincense all year round. There is the bushes that you have to cut, much like you would cut, the seed pods of opium poppy. Okay, and the resin would congeal, and you would have to pick up that resin after it congealed, and you have to clean it from stuff. It would have to be processed. And sometimes it would have to be liquefied, and then it could be sold. Now, in Israel, they would used to grow a brand of myrrh. I'm not so sure what brand of myrrh, because myrrh, that family Commiphora has such a large amount of, species. But it could have been Opoponax, which is a brand. It's called sweet myrrh. And it smells slightly more pleasant than normal myrrh. It's like, if you can get some of it, try it out. And basically those became like also associated, in Jewish myth with the 3 sons of Noah. Meaning, myrrh was Cham, okay, and it was like Cham, like Kemetic. And this was the incense of Egypt. And frankincense was the incense of Yefet, the incense of Greece. So the Hebrew incense, since it was quite in the middle of Egypt and, and the European countries, would be a mixture of those two. This is why in Hoodoo, in some traditions in Hoodoo, and Mama Star writes about this in her book, the mixture of myrrh and frankincense represents the children of Shem. Shem is like, Semitic, like anti-Semitic, and, the Semitic people, the Jewish and the Christian people, basically. So, those, and the mixture of those two things is very interesting. It's very interesting. It's like when you mix myrrh and frankincense, it has a very interesting, familiar scent. Now, I talked about those and why they are used and why they are important. There are new researchers that says that myrrh and frankincense can inhibit a growth of cancerous cells, which is very important. And, we are rediscovering their many medicinal qualities. And I shouldn't be saying this, but I should, if it can be used for medicine, it could be used for magic. Meaning the medicinal properties of those herbs could be worked to be used for magical purposes. For instance, if myrrh makes you beautiful, physically it could be used for beauty spells. And this is one of Aphrodite's and also Oshun's favorite offerings, okay? And if frankincense is a very powerful cleanser for the body, it can make you, and it's a diuretic, you can use it for purification and other stuff. They both can be used for purifications. Many items, many herbs could be used for purifications. But let me talk about those two things separately. Let's start with frankincense. Now, frankincense is very lemony. It's like its first note is lemony, and then it has this ammonia note, and then it has this almost like earthy vetiver note to it. And when you crush it and burn it, by the way, this is the most annoying resin to crush because it's jumping all over the place. Crushing frankincense would make a mess. So frankincense is one of the reasons why I sometimes use a mechanic herb grinder. Honestly, people, it's important to have one of those just for the frankincense, trust me. And this is element of fire. This is also, represented by the sun. It's good for charisma. It's good for banishing negative energies. And this is a part of, obviously, crown of success oils and ingredients. Okay, again, because it has, again, all those resins have the royal thing about them because they were very expensive, and the ancestors from which we grew in, when they see us like throwing those on the charcoal, thinking, oh, we are rich, we have money, okay? And it could also be crushed and used in BSA balm, broad spectrum antibiotic balm, homemade, to cleanse wounds until today. And it's very good to, give you that jump start into like meditation, especially mixed with sandalwood, with white sandalwood, of course. The red sandalwood is more protective or romantic. And it's very good, if you want to cleanse a space. But this is like, the nice cleanse. This is not the violent cleanse. This is not like evil spirit enough cleanse for me, unlike what they say in the books. If I want an evil spirit cleanse, I would mix it with a little bit of asafoetida, one of my favorite yet stinky resins, because it smells more like ammonia. So this is, give you the full cat pee, cat poop thing. And you have brands of this. If you want a real, and frankincense means real incense. And the name comes from France. It's a French word. And there are kinds of this. This kind is like the cheapest, most common brand. And you can get it cheaply even in Chinese stores, but I wouldn't recommend it so much. If you want something more high class, you can get the Omanian green frankincense, which is also more expensive, but it smells like burning citrus marmalade, basically. And if you need something that also smells nice, if you want to make a good home incense, this is good for you. Because the church is one of the trick is like when you burn incense, by the way, and not only to represent the temple incense that was burned in Judea, but also to represent like the wealth of the church that allows her to take those things that would heal the wounded and just burn them away as an offering, okay? You can also, you know, you can also get the black frankincense, and there is a sort of a brown frankincense that is very much mixed with the twigs and not just the resin, that even if it doesn't look bad, it still smells better than that white frankincense. You can get all sorts of those things, and trust me, try different kinds of frankincense. You would find your favorite one, and even if you need to use it moderately, it's well worth it for you, okay? So, you know, try it. There are brands, there are kinds. And there is also an issue of freshness. It's like, we don't talk about this much because frankincense is a preservative. Actually, it's a preservative. Like myrrh, you can use it to preserve the dead. The dead Egyptian mummy had like, I'll talk about this in the mule, had resin mixed onto it to keep the flesh still there. And also you can use the preservative because it's a very powerful antiseptic. It kills germs. You can use it to preserve a positive situation. It's a very good help for that. Now, myrrh. And by the way, before you ask, out of the two, my favorite is absolutely myrrh. Okay? Myrrh, if you haven't smelled it, first of all, let me get you a big chunk. This is myrrh. It's a big chunk of myrrh. Okay? I have another big chunk of it here, which I don't use because the fact that it's so chunky for me tells me that the resin is so pure that it's adhesive. So this I keep for special, you know, very special times when I need something. Myrrh is more, I would say it's more, you know, people say that this is a Venusian and this is earthy. I would say, they even say that it's, I would say that this is a watery. It's a Venusian watery herb, okay? The first note is pepper, black pepper, ground black pepper. The first note is very abrasive and could be repulsive for some people. The second note is very earthy, smoky, like a vetiver. But the third note is almost jasmine-y. And this is the bottom note, the bottom note, and you wouldn't expect that the jasmine would be a bottom note. The jasmine note is usually the upper note, and this is a very feminine scent for me. Even though it's peppery, it's like, for me, it smells like the hand of a woman that cooks like Indian food with all the spices, and yet you can still smell her lotion beneath it. It's a very feminine resin. It's a feminine mystery resin. And this is very good. For me, you know, my teacher, you know, Sheloya Mystical, she has her channel here on YouTube. She tells me, you know, my hex breaking incense, it's myrrh. I just use myrrh. I don't use anything else. But she's very much a simplistic person, but I heard horrible things about myrrh, that myrrh stinks. And it shouldn't be burned alone, it should be burned with other things. And I'm like, heck no, it's like, I love myrrh. I love myrrh. And my teacher's basic purification incense is like myrrh and some coffee beans. And I get it because, you know, both of them can basically take away bad scents from stuff. And like coffee that, you know, you smell coffee between perfumes, it's like neutralizing. It's a very neutralizing thing. And I took it a step forward, and I did myrrh, frankincense, and storax. Storax smells like a honeycomb, not styrax, not benzoin. I'm talking about the black little granular storax from sweet gum tree. It's wonderful. You should definitely try it. I discovered it because of Lori Cabot. By the way, Lori, if you are watching this, really thank you for that little piece of information. And on this note, I think that more book writers should, like, you know, witchy and pagan book writers should be owners of witchcraft shops before they write their books. Because, you know, they try on their own products and then they see what is good and what isn't. But that's just me, plain old me. Okay, so we have the myrrh and we have the frankincense, and the myrrh can be used, as I said, for beauty, for money, because in my tradition money is water, because there is a flow of cash and it's not earth that is like stabilizing stuff. It's very good to also mix with Jupiterian stuff like jasmine, as I said. Like, I think that if someone would make like a good jasmine myrrh incense, that would be a great cash flowing incense that you could use in your home. And again, it also is very good for cosmetics. So you can get the myrrh oil for very cheap and simply apply this to your skin very delicately as like a mask or a tonic, and then just wash it off. It makes your skin smooth like a lily petal, and it makes you very pretty, and it even makes scars disappears like early. One of my scar disappearing tonic contains like jojoba oil, a few drops of myrrh, a few drops of blue chamomile oil, and a tiny drop of fresh aloe vera juice, not the cream juice from the actual leaf, with a few drops of vitamin E. I mix it well. I, of course, consecrate it to the goddess of beauty, and then I give it to people and they put it like on facial scars, and those disappear slowly. And even if it's just glamour, because the scar is too deep, the glamour does the work and it sticks. So go ahead, use it. But it's not just glamour, it actually contains some logical, scientific explanation for why and how this works. But it's a long-term treatment. And again, those things are, like there are acquired tastes in food, there are acquired tastes in smell. Remember that once you start working with them, keep in mind that this is ancestral magic for you, okay? If you came from China, your people used frankincense. If you came from Africa, your people used myrrh and frankincense. Both of them are getting from Ethiopia. But, Africa is a big continent, and, they sell those things everywhere in Africa. It's not a problem to get this in Africa. In Europe, there is a long history of incense also with important things, because, the junction of selling those things was in Petra, which is in Jordan, and in Israel, which had the perfume road. Okay? Use them, enjoy them, read more about them. There is more than just Cunningham, there is more than just Catherine Ironwood out there. Read the histories of the herbs that you use, and you would gain much more useful knowledge. Okay, so this is it for today. Thank you for listening. Please leave your comments. Are there other uses of frankincense and myrrh that I neglected to say? If they were, please tell me, so we can enrich each other's knowledge. Goodbye and asher.